The KSHB 4119 learned top leaders at the Kansas City Fire Department did not know about the concerns raised about one of their pumper truck drivers until after this deadly crash in Westport. That's according to court documents obtained by the KSHB 4119.
Now, we first told you last week about an email detailing concerns and complaints about the fire truck driver months before the crash. A KCFD paramedic used words like horrendous driving and dangerous in her email to supervisors. Tonight, KSHB 41 investigator Cameron Taylor explains how this all ties together. Cameron?
Yeah, Dee and Kevin, this latest development is from sworn testimony from KCFD's Assistant Chief, James Walker. It's for the civil lawsuits filed against the city, fire department, and the pumper truck driver, Dominic Biscari. Now, we've obtained portions of that deposition that focus on the KCFD paramedic's email. Tonight, we now know the Assistant Fire Chief launched an investigation into why he was not told about the email when it was first sent last September. In sworn testimony, Assistant Fire Chief James Walker answers questions from attorney Tim Dollar. Dollar is representing Michael Elwood's family. Elwood and two others died in the Westport crash. Portions of the deposition focus on an email from a paramedic to a captain and battalion chief. Here's Dollar with a question. When something like this is put on the desk of a captain and a battalion chief, something should be done? Assistant Chief Walker answers yes. Later, he tells Dollar, when this came to light, I conducted an investigation into why this wasn't brought to my attention. Dollar says, well, who did you talk to? Walker answers, we conducted fact-finding of employees. It's in their personnel files, so I don't know if I'm at liberty to discuss people's personnel files. A city attorney then advises him not to talk about the personnel files. In the email from the paramedic, she says another employee told her Dominic Biscari made a medical student who was riding along physically ill. In the deposition, the assistant chief says he's heard of people getting sick from someone else's driving before, but understands the email raised an issue. Dollar then says, dangerous to the public, true? Walker responds, that's what it says, yes. Dollar addresses another portion of the complaint, that Biscari drove 70 miles per hour northbound on Broadway in late September. He then says, you wouldn't expect a pumper or any firefighter apparatus, whether lights or sirens or not, to be going 70 miles per hour north on Broadway, would you? Walker responds, no. The assistant chief later added, we train people to be cautious drivers. Dollar with some follow-up questions. They know better than to do 70 miles per hour north on Broadway, correct? Correct. Skipping ahead, Dollar then said, Biscari should have known better, correct? Correct. If you trained him right, he should know, correct? Correct. And later, Walker said, we train people to be cautious because it's our families out there as well, yes. Dollar responds, and here we know they didn't, right? Walker says, correct. Now, we contacted the fire department and a spokesman says their statement has not changed. It says, we do not have a comment as this is a pending investigation. And Dee and Kevin, since last Thursday, in fact, we've been trying to get in touch with Biscari's attorney, but so far we've yet to hear from him. Now,
Cameron, I know you've been in touch with the attorneys that are representing the families as well. The families of those victims have filed a lawsuit or a motion, rather. What's the reason behind that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things those attorneys are wanting from all of this. So for the fire department to answer a couple of questions about the investigation into the email, because as you just heard, the assistant chief would not get into that. They also want the city to produce any documents about Biscari's history of unsafe driving and conduct. I spoke with a legal expert who says the plaintiff's attorneys have a strong argument.
In a case like this, where it appears that there are investigation records within a personnel file, the judge could quite easily review the personnel file, flag everything that relates to the investigation, and have that produced to the other side.
And as the professor just mentioned, a judge could select pieces of that personnel file, but not the entire file, because here in Missouri, personnel files are closed records, in case you didn't know that. So once we know how a judge rules in that motion, we'll be sure to let you know.